Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast, where we get together and talk about video games and video game related stuff. As always, I'm Shanae Howard, and with me is Tommy Shelby
Hello.
and Ryan Robinson.
Hi. It's me.
Hi.
Hi.
So guys, I have not been playing a whole lot of video games since we last talked.
Shocker.
There's been a lot of content releasing, like Rings of Power. I've been watching House of the Dragons and doing stuff with that.
What is Rings of
So
Power?
it's like the Amazon Lord of the Rings show.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's making a lot of nerds mad, but like
Why? Is there a black
So
person on the show?
there's like five. There's like 4 or 5 people of color on the show, and
Yeah.
people are tired of the woke agenda,
Uh-oh.
and that's not how Tolkien described them.
Sure.
The elves were white; they couldn't be black
Yeah.
or any person of color.
Wokeness has afflicted Middle Earth.
Did you see
Yeah.
did you see Gaiman's tweet where it was like literal quotes from Tolkien like clearly describing black people?
People get mad. I
So
don't know.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I don't know if you've heard people being pissed about the wokeness of House of Dragon
Yeah.
when there's one family of black people,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and so like in the first couple episodes, there's only like 2 black guys,
Yeah.
and Rings of Power already has like double that, so people are pissed.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's
like
like everyone was getting mad about the black characters in Sandman when like there are issues of that comic where Dream is black, you know?
uh, so people are like, oh, it's like they're shoving diversity, and it's just like.
I mean,
I'm like, there's more races than
there's
black and white people,
elves
guys.
and orcs
Like,
and that
Yeah.
Gollum feller.
and
So-
and like 3 different kinds of hobbitses.
Sure.
So, but you know, but don't worry, guys. I didn't see any like Asians or like any sort or so. I mean, it's only black and white people. So like
Yeah.
Tolkien fans, you can chill on the wokeness. It's not that woke.
That reminds
thank
me.
God.
That reminds me of the time I heard someone describe Big Bang Theory as nerd blackface, and it was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard.
Oh, okay. Well,
So Rings of Power is pretty good, huh?
It's beautiful. It's like movie quality, and the 2 episodes they've had out. So besides the wokeness of it, and doing interpretations for the people just like listening, they only could get the rights to make a story out of essentially like 50 pages worth of content from the Silmarillion. So they had to take a lot of creative liberties because there's a lot of stuff that they couldn't use
Oh yeah,
or really
Embracer
touch
Group
upon.
owns all of that now, right?
I forgot who owns it. So I'm just
Embracer,
gonna
like
say
they
yes.
just bought it all.
So yeah, so like they didn't have a whole lot of content, so a lot of the stuff is completely different than the book. Than the book, and like, and I understand like if you're like, oh, it's like I'm gonna get like a Lord of the Rings show on like a book we haven't done yet, and it has a whole lot of content, and I'm super excited about it, and it's not that like what you wanted. I get being disappointed, but like it has like it's very Tolkien feeling. Like it's just like there's a lot of just like really kind of like cozy scenes. Like the world building's beautiful. I really like it. Like it's not. There's some things in there that have definitely made me laugh, and people are like saying like some people are saying the dialogue is like soap opera-y, but like I don't know if they ever heard Sam and Frodo talk to each other.
Yeah.
But that's way more soap opera-y than anything I've heard in Rings of Power. So,
Well, also,
I don't-
like, most television shows are written like soaps now, you know, so get over it.
and like also like because it's different than the books. Like there's a lot of like history and kind of exposition, like, predominantly in the first episode.
Yeah.
But there's not like it's not an unreasonable amount for a pilot
Right.
series that is trying to define itself as its own thing. Like it's still like doing quite a bit of showing as it's telling. So Yeah, and then I've been seeing a lot of memes though, because apparently there's a lot of characters that are really important in Shadows of Mordor game, and some people are like, oh, this character, like, oh, I know this character, and like making memes of it. So now got me wanting to play that game.
Well, there's two
So,
games, dude.
Yeah, you can play two of them.
yeah, I just can't remember which one
I'm more
they were
excited
saying.
for their upcoming game, their Wonder Woman game.
Though I am surprised that there's not an MMO for Lord of the Rings.
There is.
Has there never been?
There is one.
There's an MMO.
Lord of the Rings Online is what it's called.
Did I just blank that out? That didn't
I don't
exist?
know. Well, I don't know that it's still online. I don't know, but there has been
What console did it? Or what?
It was
do you know
on.
what year
It was
came
on
out?
computer, and it came out like mid to late
Computerist?
2000s.
Man,
And I believe also they were selling lifetime subscriptions to that one.
man,
So,
I do not remember that at all. I was probably just doing a bunch of drugs or something.
maybe.
It's a bold move, selling a lifetime subscription to an MMO.
Yeah, I've seen two MMOs do that, and neither of them seem to have taken off really well. So,
What was the other one?
Star Trek Online.
Oh, Second Online actually was pretty beloved, but the people who played it. But yeah,
Let's see if Lord of the Rings Online still exists.
I wonder if it's the same company who made Star Trek Online that did both of them. But yeah, I've been watching the SheHulk, which is also too woke for people. I've just been too woke. That's just what I've been doing since we last talked.
I watched SheHulk, but they brought back Tim Roth, right?
Who the fuck is Tim Roth?
That's pretty cool. You don't know who Tim Roth is?
He's an actor. And
Mr. Orange. He's orange, right?
Yeah, he was Mr. Orange. But
you ever see Four Rooms?
So,
No.
Do you ever see Planet of the Apes? Okay.
Not that I remember it.
Okay,
I remember, I saw like one of the ones that had like a Franco in it. I think a Dave Franco was in it.
One of the
not James.
The reason Tom mentioned that is that Tim Roth was the central antagonist in the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie.
Oh, was the Abomination?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's the name I'll know. But yes, so Emil Blonsky or whatever his name is in the thing.
Yeah.
Tim Roth, whatever. Yeah, he's in it. I haven't seen the episode that dropped today, but me and Bert are gonna watch it afterwards, and then he's gonna raid because Final Fantasy dropped a new raid boss, and so he's pretty stoked about that.
Are those queues still terrible? Like I had a friend wait like 18 hours to get into one of those,
That was like the last big release that happened a lot, but no, the queues have definitely slowed down since then. Since that time, I think this is the first raid boss that they've added since that time. That was like a lot more content than just one raid boss. So, but whenever that was happening, he would ask me to like get him in queue while he was still at work. So when he came home from work, he only would have to wait for like an hour
Maybe
or two.
He could play, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Well, if he can't get into Final Fantasy, Lord of the Rings Online is still online, so he could play that.
Did you see if it's the same people who made the Star Trek?
I didn't care to check.
Oh, you should.
I'll get right on that,
I want
boss.
to know that now. Thank you, Google.
Nice.
But yeah, so he hasn't asked me to log him in while he's at work, so I'm assuming the queues are better for this raid boss. But his group has been playing it, and they've been having to do weird hours because a lot of them apparently are in foreign countries, and like the main one's like an accountant, and it's like a pretty busy time for them right now. So they're having to raid around an accountant schedule.
Kick him out of the group. That's what I say.
What?
Kick that accountant out of the group.
No, man.
It seems like
they're accounting on him,
All right, well, I'm done with this episode. Thanks for listening out to us. You can find us on most.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, Tom.
That's what I have to contribute this week.
But yeah, I touched a little... I've been playing, like, if any games besides, like, my Switch, like, twice. Oh, I did play Halo with Sean and somebody I've never played Halo with before. And it was really nice to play with somebody who's as bad as I am. It reminds me that, like, I'm not the absolute worst. I'm just bad.
Yeah. Just aim it, you know?
I try. They're so sneaky. They just come up behind me and kill me all the time, or I cross the map,
Right, I know that's water, but it keeps looking like you're taking swigs of vodka.
He probably is.
Yeah, I could see
Oh,
that.
remember when we used to drink during our podcast?
Yeah, dude, when it was a good podcast, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I miss that. But yeah, what have y'all been up to, or if you want to name a couple games you've been playing?
I feel like I can't, like, there's definitely choice paralysis going on, you know? Like, I've got too much, and...
What are some of the options that you're weighing in your mind?
I don't know, dude. There's just, like... I bought this stupid hard drive for my PlayStation, so now I've got, like, hundreds of games downloaded, ready to go, you know? I could never really decide what to play, but I did play, like, with more recent stuff, it's not a thing, you know? Like, I know, hey, that's a new game I want to play, and then I play it. So, I've been playing through Pac-Man World Repack, which is a remake of the first Pac-Man World, which, like, while it's the worst game in that series, I still think it's pretty fun, and I think it holds up surprisingly well. My hope is that they'll release the sequel if enough people buy this first one.
It's a bad Pac-Man game.
Well, it's a platformer. There are 3D platformers.
Oh,
yeah. But like the second and third game, I really loved back when they were new. You know, this one's fine. I'm having fun with it. It's just simple 2D platformer or 2.5D platformer. I don't know. It's 3D, but the camera's fixed. You know.
Yeah.
That's fine. I played through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection.
You got the platinum. Congratulations, Thomas.
And yeah, got the you know, that's my biggest complaint about it is like the trophy list is real weak. Like it's literally just beat all of the games, you know. But like the collection itself is really good, and you know, I'm always hesitant because it's Digital Eclipse, and they've done some really good, you know, collections of games. They've also done some really shitty collections of games, so you're always rolling the dice when you're buying from them.
Yeah.
What would you say is like a good one or a shitty one? Does it have to be top or worst?
They did like Mega Man Legacy, which I think was fantastic, you know. But they also did the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary, which was really poorly done. This collection is really good. Like it's really quite good. But like, you know, I've never been one. So a lot of times these collections will come out and they'll have like extra features, right? Like rewind. You know, I've never been one to really use rewind because I feel like it's cheating.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like if the game didn't have it, like to me, it's like if the game didn't have it, then it's cheating. You know. That said, it was the only way I was able to beat the Turtles NES game. So
you're a cheater?
There was that. Yeah. But it's the only one I used it on.
I think
some of those games get pretty fucking hard, you know?
I feel like that says a lot about the design of that game, though.
Yeah, for sure. I played... So there's one I want to talk about. It's for the Game Boy. They've got 3 Game Boy games on there.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one I had played when I was a kid. It's not great, but it's just kind of whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But the third game, I'd never played. I never even really knew existed. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Radical Rescue.
Okay.
And it's like straight up Ninja Turtles Metroid. And it's so fucking cool. Like, it's really awesome.
What console was it originally on?
Game Boy.
Mm.
So you start off as Michelangelo, which to me is great because he's my favorite. But then, like, you know, it does the Metroid thing where it's like, here's an area that you can't get past yet. So you got to go get a power-up to allow you to get past that area, right?
Yeah.
And what it is like, as you rescue the other turtles, they have abilities that can get through those obstacles, you know?
Right.
And it's just like super good, super creative.
Like in true Metroid fashion, like collecting tools to get through.
Yeah, but you're just collecting brothers, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But like
them brothers.
But yeah, it's super good. I'm surprised you haven't played it yet, Ryan. But
I haven't. So I try to think of the. I try to think back and see it like, and I don't remember that I'd ever played a TMNT game on Game Boy. Um, I did
I
actually.
just no, I just mean the collection in general.
Oh yeah, I just lots kind of going
Yeah,
on over here, so it's not really been something I can do right now. But
yeah.
I hope to get to it pretty soon.
Quick. So Michelangelo's your favorite. What are your Ninja Turtles ranked? Real quick, I need to know this about you.
I mean, Michelangelo is number one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Below that, I guess, fucking Leonardo and Raphael are tied, and then Donatello's last, which I know is unpopular. Like, for whatever reason, in recent years, everyone loves Donatello all of a sudden. You know.
Does that bother
but
you, Thomas?
No, it's just funny because like it used to be everybody loved Raphael
Because he's the bad boy. He's got the
right.
attitude.
Because everyone loves the bad boy.
Well, because like back when Ninja Turtles like rose to like prominence, being a nerd wasn't cool. You get called a nerd, that's bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Also,
people
like,
are okay with it.
Well, it's also the time where like Wolverine was the most popular, so like that whole like edgy bad boy thing was like across the thing.
Sure. Wolverine's still pretty cool though.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad I know this about you. I feel like I have a better picture of you as a person.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Also, tournament fighters like online, pretty cool, man. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see people like playing that game online. You know, outside of Fightcade.
I've only ever gotten to play that game like by myself.
Yeah.
Because I borrowed it from a friend when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And so I'd only ever played it by myself, but it would be really cool to actually, like 30 years later, play it with other people.
Yeah, and that NES Tournament Fighters, like people talk so much shit about that game because it's a fighting game on the NES, you know?
Sure.
But like, I think for the hardware, it's pretty impressive, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually seen it.
I'm
taking a look now. Yeah, I played the SNES version, and from what I understand, the SNES and Genesis versions are like really different, right?
Yeah, they're all three completely different games. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I'd like to try a fight. I don't think I've ever played a fighting game on the NES that I can remember.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
But that's it. Like, I've been playing other random things for like a few minutes before I'm like, nah, this isn't what I feel like playing. You know?
No, I feel you. What have you been up to, Ryan?
So I'm kind of just gonna gloss over here. I'm still playing Saints Row.
Still enjoying that?
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it. Enjoying it a lot. I think I'm coming up on near the end of the story. But yeah, the game is.
Has there been a Johnny Gat reveal yet?
No. There is a guy that I encountered that sounded a little bit like Johnny Gat, and I was just like, "Oh no, no! I hope he's not." But this seems to be taking.
No.
Any references to anybody, Shaundi, or like
no?
anybody?
This seems to be taking place in a completely different timeline. So those characters, because like in the game,
I mean, they said as much.
Yeah,
I just thought like maybe they'd throw something in there.
In the game, like you are the one who started the Saints, right? So these other people apparently don't exist, or whatever. But and it doesn't seem. I think there have been references here and there to like older games, but overall, this seems to be standing, it's more of a standalone thing. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with it. There are little frustrations that pop up here and there. Still, there's a skill that is bugged in that, like, so the skill is basically when you trigger it, you're supposed to be able to like just pull out this revolver and like do a bunch of like real quick shots to like 4 guys, right? And so that. Yeah, so that skill uses a little bit of your special.
Do you fan the hammer?
Yeah, that's the concept of the skill, right? But so using that uses up a little of this meter that you use for like those special skills. But the thing is, every time I've used it, the gun was empty. And like, so I can't use it. Like, I can't shoot.
You just hear it click 4 times?
Yeah, it just clicks, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And I've gotten it to work like sporadically. So I went online and I was trying to see if like maybe there's something I'm doing wrong or what. But some people were like, maybe you have to buy ammo for it, which sounded dumb to me. But I was just like, okay, I'll try it. I bought ammo, that didn't work. So I was just like, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to use that.
This guy, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Done with this.
Yeah, so I replaced it with something else. But yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun with it. I'm still playing Rumbleverse. That game's still a lot of fun. And also I checked out two games that were new to me. So first of which was Midnight Fight Express, and I also checked out Sifu.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting playing those two games side by side. So for those of you who don't know, Midnight Fight Express is more of like, it's an isometric kind of beat 'em up, where insofar as I can tell, you're this guy who is just going through the city, like trying to take down this evil gang, and all the fights very much have like the feel of it's like if you've seen the Daredevil show on Netflix and you saw that first like fight he had in that hallway, a lot of the fights very much have that kind of vibe to them. And so it's actually really fun. It's really intuitive. And the reason I brought it up in the next to Sifu is that like it's really interesting the way that those two games contrast, because Sifu like overall is like, as far as overall presentation, like as far as visuals and animation, is like far and away like it's way better. But I feel like Midnight Fight Express is like a lot more approachable and way less demanding than Sifu is.
Yeah, I mean, Sifu kind of prides itself on being difficult.
Yeah, and so, but I also like, I feel like it's funny because it prides itself on being difficult, but at the same time, I feel like other games that kind of like wear that kind of difficulty thing like on their sleeves, like they do a better job of like communicating like different things to the player to make it like seem like challenging but fair. And I feel like with Sifu, a lot of my success as far as like dodges and parries and everything, it feels less like I'm getting better and more like guesswork a lot of the time.
You're doing well in spite of the game instead of like...
I do feel like that's kind of what's going on. Actually, I feel like a lot of it is I understand the concept of the game. I understand like what the main challenge is, but like I just feel like it's not necessarily giving me adequate tools to actually overcome that challenge in a way that is consistent. I mean, when you get a rhythm, it's pretty fun, but like there's a lot of it is just like I'm kind of just guessing most of the time. But I'm having a nice enough time with it, and I think I'll see it through. But I also feel like I'm enjoying Midnight Fight Express a little bit more, just because I feel like it flows better, and like I feel more like I'm in control in the fights in that game. And lastly, the current gen update for Biomutant dropped this week, so I've been playing that, and I still like that game a whole lot. I still think Biomutant's pretty great. So, and that's it. That's all I've been playing. That's me. That's all I've been playing. Thank you.
I did kind of have like... Oh, I did forget to kind of talk about one thing I didn't want to talk about. So, you make all the jokes you want, get all the yucks, but I'm about to talk about fan fiction.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming y'all aren't aware because it's not y'all's thing, but there's like a genre of fan fiction. It's like gamer fan fiction, which is taking any franchise and having the protagonist have like, they call gamer abilities and like a stat tree and skill trees and stuff like that. So most of them are written in the perspective of that person, and they just like wake up one day and they have like a kind of like map like, or not map, but like inventory menu system. And they use that to navigate the story. Normally they like fix it where like things will be improved because now they have this like knowledge. And I've never been like a huge person into those because a lot of them, I I think just gets boring because they're just like they're so focused on building that stat system that I don't really feel like a whole lot's going on in the story, and I don't I don't find reading somebody grinding out abilities any more fun or more fun or even as fun as actually doing it myself in a video game. But lately, I read one that was pretty decent, so I've been going through a couple of them, and it's been really fun. Trying to figure out which systems they're kind of basing stuff off of, because some of them do definitely seem like they're just like taking Dungeons and Dragons and actually applying it and saying it's like gamer stuff. But it is like it's been interesting finding out in the fanfiction world like which stat and skill tree systems that people are basing it off of. Because I saw one that was like, this is definitely like Divinity. I saw another one that reminded me a lot of Skyrim, not Skyrim, Oblivion. I mean, not that they're like vastly, but yeah. So it's been kind of like a little fun thing in my life where I've just been comparing video game systems to fan fiction because that's what.
Are you reading these like online or what?
Yeah, no. There's like a bunch of websites.
I would like you to send me a link.
So
okay,
because I would like to read one of these.
So that sounds very close to a genre of literature that I recently became aware of called lit RPGs, where people write books in from the perspective of a character and a very video game sort of context, and a lot of it is exactly what you're describing. I read part of one of those books, and it's very interesting to listen to someone talk about leveling up.
As like a thing that you can do.
Yeah. Not as, but to like you said, it's not as fun as actually leveling up in something myself.
Yeah, no, I definitely like. There's like some I've read that are pretty like just silly. Like there's like one because like some of them they'll also have where like, the person can come across dungeons to like level up, and it's just a little pocket dimension that they can go to and like grind out some like XP. And like sometimes like in those like dungeon instances or whatever, there'll be like other franchised creatures. Like I was reading a Game of Thrones one about like Jon Snow had like the gamer ability, and like, the pocket dimensions. There's like Pokemon. So like yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Like it sounds terrible, but that's why I want to
trust me. There's some that is like extremely terrible, and like I said, I had never really gotten into the genre until now, and like honestly, besides like the one that I read that was like pretty good, like most of them have been like just like okay to bad as far as fan fiction goes.
Yeah,
but it's been fun, like I said, seeing where people are trying to.
Because to me, I'm seeing it as more of a format than a genre, but I need to see it first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's just like some of the common tropes of it is like one of them is like gamer mind, where normally like mind altering effects won't work on you, and if you go to sleep, then you reset your health and like mana.
If you're just listening to the show, like Tom's face when Shanae said gamer mind was really funny.
Yeah, I mean I didn't pick the name for these things. I'm just saying what exists in the genre. So there's like common like tropes within the genre, and like some of them, like we'll say like in the beginning, like it's like a nerfed version of it. So like these are the tropes that they didn't do, and these are the tropes they did do beforehand.
I see.
Which anytime I see a key or a guide on how I'm supposed to read your fan fiction, I know it's gonna be bad fan fiction. It's just what it is.
Shanae,
it just sounds like it's 10 years too late, you know? Like it sounds like it's made to appeal to the people that love The Cake is a Lie and Screen Team Sundays and shit like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I know that's very judgy, which is why I want to read one, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how old it is. I know I read one the other day that was originally written in 2012. Yeah. So, like, I mean, so it's at least a decade old. So, I mean, Yeah, it might have come out as a thing during that time. I don't know, but yeah,
it's like I'm gonna read my weird gamer fan fiction and watch The Guild while I play Team Fortress 2. You know, like that's what it feels like.
That actually sounds like a great night. I think that's what I'm gonna do after we're done recording.
I don't know. I'll say.
I'm not saying it's the most exciting genre in fan fiction, but it is something that I've just been recently into, and I guess like kind of into, because I'm not saying that this is like, there's fan fiction that I think is genuinely great fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that this is just kind of like a different take on a fix-it. Because I do like quite a few fix-its where it's just like, man, all these people are fucking dumbasses. I want to read about this world if everybody had like weren't sharing the same 2 brain cells.
Yeah.
And so there's quite a few of those I like. So this is like kind of like scratching that itch a little bit, like on some of them. But like some of them, because because it's like a video game, like kind of like menu system, they'll like, when they come across somebody, it'll like say their name and like a title, and they can go and like look at their stats or whatever. So there's like, people will find information they didn't know in the like books or movie or whatever because of that. So it's just like, it is what it is.
So
but,
I found some gamer fan fictions. And I'd like to read to you some of the premises of these gamer fan fictions, Tom, just to kind of let you know what you can expect.
2 at max. 2 max.
I have 3.
Like,
I have 3.
I'm going to give you a minute to pick the best 2.
All right.
What are they based off of? You also have to tell us the franchise.
Okay, well, a man is reincarnated into the Naruto-verse with a mildly underpowered gamer ability. It contains
it's a term.
Yeah. Okay. Edric.
That doesn't sound like fan fiction, though.
Well, he put the Naruto there, and then he inserted an original character and gave him gamer ability.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's only if you take the existing IP, then you're the fan fiction.
Yeah.
And here's the other one that I found that I thought that just the wording was funny to me. Edric Dane woke up after he was killed by Lady Stoneheart. Suddenly, he was young again, full of knowledge and touched by the 7. How will he use the knowledge and blessings to make things right?
None of that means anything to me.
Exactly.
You know? It's Game of Thrones stuff. That really doesn't fit with a gamer, but I'm
also reminded of the time Tom and I tried to share some gamer fan fiction with you. And
that's not what you did. It was erotica. There's a difference there.
I mean, erotica is also fiction, you know?
I mean, it was a fiction, probably from a fan, so...
Yeah, and it was a video game.
I think that you're very well... I mean...
Right, go ahead and insert that clip here.
Okay.
Of me just trying to get you to stop about DixieCon. But yeah, so there's also something else I wanted to mention, but now I forgot because I'm just now stuck on DixieCon erotica.
I mean,
but I remember I'll bring it up. But you had a couple things that you wanted to bring up, Thomas?
Yeah, like I'll try to remember them as we go on, but like I don't know, I'll be like hanging out at work or driving, and like it'll pop into my head that like something random having to do with video games will pop into my head, like just a thought, you know?
Yeah.
So, but they're not enough to like make an episode out of, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they could be if you guys have like similar examples. But like
I do, because I just remembered one I was going to bring up is what are some wrong names of some weapons or items in video games that you call them that like nobody else does? Like example, when we're playing Halo, I know that the gravity hammer is not called this, but I call it the band hammer. Whenever like we're playing Halo, I know that nobody ever does, but like it's not the common name. And then like the one of the people we're playing with the other day, they call it the galaxy hammer. So, like, yeah, I just was like, hey, what are some items that you don't call the right names? You just call whatever you want. That's not a whole topic, but I would like to know if y'all have any examples.
Sounds like something someone who watches The Guild would do.
I don't think I ever do that, really, except for, like like more generalized things, right? Like in fighting games, like all those moves have a name,
right?
But like
they're all the same type of move.
You know what a DP is, and everybody just calls it a DP, even though it's not called a Dragon Punch for everyone. You know, like stuff like that. But
so in the video game Arcadegeddon, there is this ability that I can't remember it, but I can't remember the name rather. But basically, when you use it, it summons this giant guy who like runs through the level for a little bit. It's like punching bad guys for you. And I call him Gary. I don't know. I don't know why. I just call him Gary. But like also there's like a bad version of that thing that will attack you, and that guy's evil Gary. So that's the only one that comes to mind for me, because I generally, I guess like also like I use more general terms like when we're like with like shooters, I just say gun. Because like I don't know the names of all the guns. I don't know what, like there's a rifle there, and I don't know the names of the rifles because I don't know a lot about guns. But
yeah, no, there's a lot of guns in Halo I have no idea the name to, and my friend Sean that I play with quite often, I just say generally what the gun does.
Sure.
And I'm like, I don't know how to use this, but it's like horizontal and goes pew pew, and it needs me to vent it sometimes. I was like, I don't know what I'm like, I don't know, the pew pew vent one.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. There's a lot of, because I don't pay attention to a lot of things. I do end up like that. Like I remember in Kingdom Hearts, the wisdom mode, I'd call it the floaty mode because it just was more floaty than the other ones. So I was just like, I don't know, I need to go floaty mode. And like same thing. There's a lot of those where I'm just like, I know what I mean. I know what I'm talking about. And it's just like a shortcut in my brain to get where I need to be.
Well, I mean, because
I'm not going to read.
You're not very often going to like reference those in conversation to someone in like and especially like not, and usually for me anyway, most of my conversations happen over text. So if I need to know the specific name of the thing, I'll just usually just Google it and then paste it into the conversation. But
yeah.
Like just the other night,
like Silmarillion, I own it. I've read it. I still can't spell it right.
Just the other night,
to somebody.
I was playing Arcadegeddon with one of our friends, and he was like, "This gun is awesome." I'm like, "Which gun is it?" And he couldn't tell me, and so I was like, "Well, let me go over there and get a look at it." And then like I went over to look at it, and I still don't know the name of the gun, but I just called it in that moment. I was like, "Oh yeah, the shock stopper."
Yeah, see, with stuff like that, I feel like I was better about that stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's our fault as consumers of these products. I feel like games are just like they make less of an effort to make those things stick with you, right? Like it's very easy to remember that, you know, number 6 on your keyboard is the plasma rifle, right? Like that's simple because it's a unique thing,
right?
You know. Or the cerebral bore, you know, like you're not going to get that wrong. You know what you're talking about, you know.
Yeah.
But like not that it doesn't exist now. It rarely exists now.
Yeah.
You know.
There's just too much shit to remember now.
Way less of an excuse in Halo not to know the names, because they do put the name of the gun that you're like equipped in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
But I don't read that shit.
Right.
You know what it is. You know what it does.
Anyways, you know, the specific example that I was thinking of is like, so I played a lot of Cult of the Lamb when it first came out.
Very fun game.
Mm-hmm.
And really enjoy it. Still trying to clean up the last 2 trophies I need, but like, you know, when I'm playing it, I'm like, you know, clearly this takes a lot of inspiration from different genres, but like, it puts them together in a pretty unique way, right? And if you read or watch basically any video on that game, that's what people will say. And I agree with that. But then, like, I've been playing Chernobylite off and on. And I'm like, this is literally the same. It's the same game. It's just, it's a different perspective,
right.
You know? But you were still building a base. You were still going out to collect resources and followers. You know, like, it's literally the same game.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And then I start thinking about it even more, and then I'm like, Dark Cloud. Like, this is Dark Cloud.
Sure.
It's the same fucking thing, you know?
Sure.
And, like, I think I have a tendency to peel away what is good about a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, that's not a good thing. That's not a good way to be. And I can still, like, I can still recognize that I had fun with Cult of the Lamb, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't look at that game as fondly as I did just because that thought crossed my mind, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
huh?
All right, maybe I'm just ignorant. So please educate me. But I mean, can't you say that about a lot of games that are essentially the same game? Like,
of course, you're absolutely right.
Don't you mean like? I mean, is it down to like every single thing is the same, or is it the same? Or could you say like, you know, Tekken 6 and Tekken 7 are the same game, and you're just like punching the same characters?
You're absolutely right. But like, one, I think it's different when it's one continuous franchise. But you could say Tekken is like Virtua Fighter, and you wouldn't be wrong. They're very different, but you wouldn't be wrong in saying that, right? But like, you're definitely not wrong about that, right? I can name 100 games that have similarities to Halo, but like, when something comes along that is so unique, there are not a lot of games that you could name that do that.
Yeah,
you know. But like the fact that I could name a few of them, it just like I said, I'm not saying I'm right or that it's a good way to think.
Right.
That doesn't change the fact that is the way I think.
So I feel like that's a double-edged sword, right? Because like, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shanae.
No, go ahead. My question was just like, why does it bother you? Because like, if the other ones don't, why does this one do? That's the point.
That is the point, Shanae.
Yeah.
That is the reason I brought this up.
Well, like, so here's the thing, right? Is that I think it's a double-edged sword because on one hand, I think what it sounds like you're worried about, Tom, is it sounds like you're worried about being reductive when describing a video game.
Right.
And I think that like, because I think back to like every open world game that came out after GTA 3 was just called a GTA clone, right? And
sure.
And I think that like, while there are similarities between those games, like I think like the first one that really came to mind was the first Saints Row back in like 2006. And like, well, yeah, there were similarities between the two games. There were also things that set both games apart from one another, right? So on one hand, like I guess it can be seen as reductive, but on another hand, I think that it's a good shorthand for if you're trying to explain or kind of like help conceptualize a game to someone else, then it's a good way to be just like, well, you know, it's like well, describe Cult of the Lamb to me. It's like, well, it's kind of like we played Chernobylite, right? So it's like that, except it's got a little bit of a different presentation, and it helps.
But what's funny is like, though Dark Cloud, Chernobylite, and Cult of the Lamb are extremely similar in their gameplay,
right?
I don't know that I would recommend one of those to anybody that liked the other of those. You know what I mean?
Right, but like also there are ways that you can like kind of like just use that as a, like, but also you have to. It's one of the things you have to make sure you do too when like speaking that way is being like, well, the closest example I can think of is this, but that doesn't necessarily mean those two things are identical. I had a similar conversation with someone recently about like because I was thinking about Wordle recently, and I was like, and I thought to myself, I was like, is Wordle just Hangman? And like, I think that like
not really. No,
I think that Wordle. I think that the main difference between Wordle and Hangman is that Wordle saves an additional piece of information that Hangman doesn't,
and you don't kill anyone.
Right, and no one's getting hanged in this scenario, right? So that's another. So it's a less violent Hangman, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But like also like Wordle is distinct in that it stores a piece of information that Hangman doesn't, which is that it tells you when you've played a correct letter, just not in the right spot, right? Hangman doesn't do that. But I do think that like it is a way to just like, well, if I were to try to describe Wordle to somebody, I feel like Hangman is kind of a pretty good bridge to kind of like, do you like Hangman? Okay, well you probably would like a game like Wordle, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it just, you know, I guess it's just, it can be, I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's terrible, but I do think you run into like issues where, like you said, like, you know, if I'm trying to describe to you Cult of the Lamb, it's like, well, you don't want to say, well, it's just like Dark Cloud, because you know it's not just like Dark Cloud. They're similar in certain ways, but they're not the same, right? So,
but like essentially the gameplay loop of those 3 games are like it's the same thing,
right?
You know, but like that's not the problem to me. The problem to me is not like describing these games to people or recommending games to people. Like the problem to me is like why do I have to tear down Cult of the Lamb now? You know what I mean? Like why to me is Cult of the Lamb less significant now? You know?
Because you feel it's less of a unique experience when you realize you've had it before, I guess, is from the way that you're describing it. Which, like, it's...
Yeah, but like I said, I've had that experience with 3 games. I've had the Halo experience with 100 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why... Like, I don't understand why... I guess, like, you don't either, why that diminishes its value or enjoyability in your mind.
I don't know.
I think maybe it is because compared to like 100 Halo-like games, there's only like 2 other games that are similar to this, like those 3 that you can think of. So, like,
I'm sure there's more, but
at a certain point, one becomes the standard, and one's a unique experience that you're realizing is not as unique. Is what it seems like. It seems like you're just being snobby, and the fact that there's other games that exist that are like it, you don't like that. That's what it seems like.
Maybe.
But also, to kind of go back, though, to the tangent that we went on, when describing games to people, I do think, as somebody who worked at GameStop, I
would not take any of your recommendations.
Sure. The game advisor opinion is worthless.
I can't remember what the 3rd tier was called, or what I know like the store manager, assistant manager. I can't remember what the 3rd key was called. Anyways, not important.
GameStop's Gar.
Well, I know at one point I was like a lead game advisor, but then they like got rid of that position. Not the point. Not the fucking point. The point is that, what I was saying though, it's like one of the things I would do is like, they're like, I like say Grand Theft Auto or whatever, and I'm looking for like I want to play. I just finished Grand Theft Auto. I'm looking for a new game, and I'm like, all right, well, do you want to like? That's when I think like you just have to do probing questions on that. Like, are you want to play a game that's like Grand Theft Auto or completely different? Like. Contrast if people are like, I really liked Dark Cloud, and be like, hey, like, and I want to play, and they're like, hey, I want to play a game like that. Like that in what way? Like tone of the story, gameplay. Like, I love the gameplay. That's when you would recommend the other like games. I think it's just depending on what that person's looking for.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry, it was more relevant to the tangent earlier. But I'm just saying, like, you said that you wouldn't recommend them, but that's dumb because if they're similar and that's what someone's looking for, you should recommend them.
I wouldn't though, because like even in a gameplay standpoint, like you can say that like both in Cult of the Lamb you're going out to collect resources and followers and build out a base and all that, right? I mean, I guess you could kind of, sort of throw Metal Gear Solid 5 in there, but like they still play so differently, right? You might like Chernobylite because it's got it's a first person shooter, which like Dark Cloud and Cult of the Lamb are not, you know.
Sure.
But like. Yeah. I don't know.
I think that one of the things that it's kind of hard, right? Because I think that like, I feel like it's been mentioned before is that it's like it's kind of hard not to like derive like gameplay loops and ideas from like previous games.
Sure.
I think that the main thing is like trying to maybe like arrange those things in a unique way and kind of add something that maybe wasn't there. And you know, I've never played Chernobylite, but one of the things I think about with Cult of the Lamb specifically is that like I really enjoy like the entire loop of the game. Like I can just play like that. I could play that game over and over again, right? And like just not even really worried about like advancing the story or anything. But like I also just love the idea of like. And again, I think that the idea of like very cutesy animals and shit, like being put in like a really like kind of mature and violent like scenario, like it's been done before, right? But I also don't think that it's been done specifically in this context before. And so part of that is like what makes it interesting to me, and part of that is like kind of what keeps me entertained with it.
Sure.
And you know, I go back to like the GTA and Saints Row comparison, whereas, and I feel like I'm kind of opposite from you, Tom, in this regard, where like if I I play a game and I'm like, this is really cool. I would love to find more games that have like these elements in it. And so when I find when I find another game that has those kind of similarities to it, then I'm like, okay, cool, more of this. I like that. That's not to say that I like want to just play the same game over and over again forever, but you understand, like when you like find something that like resonates with you, you kind of seek out. Well, I can only speak for myself. I kind of seek out more experiences that are similar in that way.
Yeah.
Which was like also like a detriment to me because like after I finished Persona 5, like it was really hard for me to like find anything else to play for a while because that experience felt so unique to me and there was nothing really like it that matched like the vibe and tone and like kind of like the kind of story for me, right? So
and the pacing of it too.
Yeah. So
no, and I maybe not necessarily. I mean, I was joking about a little bit joking about the about like not liking it because it's not as unique. But I also do like I can't understand like when you kind of reduce something to more like a baser like or I guess like the core of it or whatever more or like peel back the layers. It is harder to be harder to be immersed in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like maybe like some of that's like flavoring it too.
Maybe. I mean, this is all like thought that I had after doing like 150 in-game days of that game and doing literally everything the game has to offer, you know.
Yeah.
But
everything.
Yes, literally everything. But you know, like I don't know, it's just little things like that. I also like thinking about like I thought maybe we could do an episode where it's like, what's a really controversial game that you love? Because like I started playing Dragon's Crown again. And I don't know if you guys remember, but when Dragon's Crown came out in 2013, Polygon wrote a review that kind of dragged it through the mud because of its art style.
Sure.
You know?
That Vanillaware art style.
I mean, people say that, but like, what other Vanillaware game has proportions like that? None. You know, that's the only one.
I was just kind of joking. I'm sorry, Tom.
No, I'm just saying, like seriously, there is no other Vanillaware game where the character models have those proportions.
Sure.
For the men or the women.
Yeah.
You know? But like, yeah, like that was a very controversial game when it came out for that reason.
Yeah.
But I'm a very big defender of that game.
Sure. I think, well, that was the same thing that happened with, that's the same kind of conversation that people have with like Senran Kagura, right? Where we're like there's like kind of like a very like a specific tone when you talk about games like that because like, okay, well, we got these like very like sexy characters or very like sexualized characters, and that is kind of like that the quality of the gameplay or how fun the game might be kind of takes a back seat to all of that. Because like people kind of get stuck on like what the perception.
Sexy.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like I think that like people, I don't know if this either impedes people from playing games like that or helps people form opinions of people who do play games like that, but like it all seems to come down to like, well, this person is obviously a very horny person for playing this video game. Whereas like I've seen Dragon's Crown and like I looked at it, I was like, this doesn't seem like visually it's my vibe, but like that loop looks fun. Like watching those numbers pop up, it looks fun, you know? So
yeah, I mean it's literally the old D&D games, you know, but like that Polygon article was specifically talking about the women in the game, you know. But it's not just the women in the game. Yeah. It's everybody in that game.
Like everybody is like kind of like exaggerated, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah. What's the volleyball sexy game? Dead or Alive?
Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Volleyball. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Dead or Alive's whole thing is like we have sexy girls in our game. Like all of those games.
Well,
are, like,
same with Senran Kagura.
I just couldn't remember it, and and googling video game volleyball sexy. This didn't sound like a great idea.
Is that the one that you defend, Shanae? DOA
that's your
volleyball?
Controversial game.
No. I don't know if it's necessarily controversial, but like I have like a I actually have a pretty decent tolerance for like sexy stuff in the game. I may joke about it or tease it sometimes, but like on there. But I'm trying to think of what the it was on. I know it was on 360, maybe PS3. It was the second one, and I think the first one was on PS1 or PS2. Donna Mana? No, it's not Donna Mana. But they're like the tits were just like they were larger than anybody's head. So I was just like, and I see that, and I'm just like, and I like, and it would just be like just giant balloon tits on this very slim body with this very tiny head, and I just like I couldn't get through it. I was just like,
I want to know what game this is.
Yeah.
I want to say
for educational purposes.
Sure, for the research.
Yeah, no.
I do think we should. Because I don't know that I have like a controversial game. I'd have to look back at games that I do like and think about like.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would definitely like to revisit.
See, I don't even mean like games like that.
Yeah,
were okay at the time, but are now controversial. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I don't mean games that aged poorly. I just mean games like you still defend them.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, like I thought for sure Sinead would be this upcoming Harry Potter game. Sure. You know. And then Ryan, I had no idea. I mean, you've played all sorts of fucking games, man. Yeah, Playboy Mansion or whatever, you know, like.
Stop putting that out there for everybody. You're not even. That was man. I should have never given you that Xbox. Jesus Christ.
I don't know what I'm saying about the new Harry Potter Legacy. Some people, I know, like, I saw a couple of tweets recently where someone was complaining that they're not going to have Quidditch in there. But I'm like, I'm going to go to magic school. I don't give a shit about being a jock.
But you understand that there is a big controversy behind that game. Right? Like, you understand that game is quite controversial.
Besides the J.K. Rowling thing?
No, because of that.
I mean, that's the
that's what I mean. No, I'm saying, like, besides that, like, what other controversy is there?
That is the controversy. Yeah, like,
that's
it.
Duh.
Like, yeah, you understand that.
Since the game has been
but
announced,
you still have reasons that you're going to purchase it, you know? Like,
yeah.
My assumption was that, like, right.
Yeah, no. For sure that. I just didn't know if there was anything else I didn't know.
No. Just that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, like, I think J.K. Rowling's a terrible person, but I fucking love Harry Potter. And, you know, there's some conflicting feelings about that, but I really want to know what it's like to go to a magic school. And I'm not a TERF, and I don't, like, approve of it. And I guess, like, there's something to be said, because since I've found out about her opinions, I don't think I've given her any money, like, directly, knowingly.
Right.
And part of the reason I wanted to get a console and not like, and I don't want to buy it on PC is because I wanted to buy the game used.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And
That's
not give
funny.
her money give her money. And but we gotta like spend like $6,000 to fix our fences.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, can I morally live with myself the percentage of money that she's going to get from me buying this game?
Yeah.
And as of right now, because we got to pay these contractors, I'm going to say yes. and
the temptation is too great.
Yeah, if I could, if I could find out what percentage of money that like my purchase is going to J.K. Rowling and how much it benefits her.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a sliver, but yeah.
And then offset that by doing like 10 times the amount to like LGBT and like trans rights like charities. Sure. I'd feel like more okay with myself. But like I know that it's not like morally the best that I'm okay giving her money.
Right.
Well, like I kind of have adopted the policy of like, I'm not going to police anybody else's outrage, right?
Yeah.
And so just because I think something is like worth not purchasing a product over, it doesn't mean that like I'm going to hold people to that same standard, because I feel like outside of like something like super egregious, right? I think that like we all have different thresholds for that shit. And so I don't know shit about like, I don't know anything about Harry Potter. I don't know if like any of that author's like personal belief system has made it into her writing. I would
It has.
I would say it probably has.
Yeah.
Because that's
In
kind
the
of just what happens.
The original 7 books are sorry, the original 6. Yeah, no, 7. Anyways, there's only one Asian character, and her name's Cho Chang. So let's just start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
but like, I do think that's something that worth like looking at, because I think that like it is very much a kind of in some cases it's a very much becomes a conversation of separating the artist from the art sort of conversation, right?
Yeah, well, and to be fair, like, she did not make that game, you know.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like Shanae said, she does still profit from it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you know, I just like, I was certain that all three of us would have some game that we liked that we would defend, you know,
Yeah.
that maybe people had problems with.
Yeah, and I think that
game, but I will not defend the creator of the intellectual property.
Right.
Yeah, and
right.
I think that like I don't think that any game that I enjoy is like, you know, problematic perhaps in that way. I probably just have games that people think are bad that I like. And so like I would like to take a look at, you know, my like catalog of games that I've actually completed. And
but anything though, right? Like, you love Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat arguably is one of the most controversial franchises that we've ever had.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that fighting games in general have problems with ethnic and like ethnic stereotypes and like the way that.
I mean, I meant specifically because of the violence in the Senate hearings and all that, you know.
Well, yeah, but I think that's like, I mean, sure, but like also I kind of like, I very much came up in an environment. Well, that sounds weird. I shouldn't say that.
You came?
Well, I was gonna say that I came up in an environment where like that sort of violence wasn't a big deal.
Right.
Like, I don't want it to make it sound like I came from a bad home or anything.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I grew up watching all sorts of horror flicks and all that, you know? So, but, like, you know, it's just funny to me, like, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
But we're all not okay with hatred.
Sure.
You know, like, where's the line, you know?
Well, because in Mortal Kombat, it's never personal, man.
Yeah.
It's just the tournament.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, you're pretty far removed. You're not like,
yeah.
You're not. I mean, some people may be projecting their opinions on other things onto like the katana or whatever as you kill her. But
sure.
That's up to you and your headcanon. Yeah. Meanwhile, hatred is very explicitly like.
I do think that there's
malicious.
I do think that there's certainly a distinction between that can be made.
I do too.
Like violent video games and like also like other kind of themes that like it would be really cool to discuss. But you know, I think that honestly, I think everybody probably has something like that. I don't know that like I would like to see if I have anything that like that would still currently be considered like controversial, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like Mortal Kombat was a thing that was like the controversy was like a big deal 30 years ago and like much less so now.
Agreed.
So I'd like to dig more into that, but like, yeah, that's an interesting idea for sure.
Yeah. Like, I've had friends telling me, "Oh man, you have to play Shadow Warrior 3." You know, and it's like, really, you're telling me that I gotta play Shadow? Like, no, man, I'm good. You know,
that's like, and that, man, it's Shadow Warrior is such a.
And they're like, it's a great game. I'm like, yeah, it might be a great game. I'm sure it is. You know, but like,
that's the tragedy of some games, right? It's just like you have like solid gameplay and mechanics, but like they're built around like this like really fucked up idea.
Yeah.
And it's just and I can't reconcile like playing games like that. Like even if like that's like Shadow Warrior 3 was like a perfect example, right? Where like I was like, man, this game is actually pretty fun, but this game is less racist, but only slightly so. So, you know. So I just so it's things like that, right? Where people who maybe don't understand why something like in a video game bothers you, and kind of make it out to be like, I don't know what the big deal is. It's just, but like, I mean, I'm gonna decide what bothers me, right? Like, I'm gonna decide what offends me, and other people can decide what offends them, right? So.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to just as I think of these things, just type them down now, like just put them in my phone notes now,
Sure, yeah. But I'm actually really looking forward to that conversation because I'd like to see, one, what you guys end up, because I know that Shanae's might be the Harry Potter thing, unless you have like another one that you really love that could.
Feeling that Shanae probably loves a lot of controversial games.
Sure. Like there's how do you pick just one?
The games I like that would be considered controversial are like Atami games that y'all have like a reference for. And I'm pretty sure the game that I was thinking of, because I've been trying to like find it for a while, is Magna Carta 2. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I'm thinking of.
With the biggins?
Yeah,
I remember the cover of Magna Carta 1 had the biggins.
Magna Carta 2 did too.
I've never heard of that game. I have no idea.
Well, I saw it.
They weren't as big as like Hyperdimension and Tunia, and they also weren't on children, if I remember correctly.
It is an
unlike
Hyperdimension and or
Tunia
game, so might be checking out.
I mean, I remember liking the gameplay in general. One of the issues that I had though was like whenever they're doing like, I don't remember there being a lot of cutscenes, but I do remember there being a lot of like exposition, and like, and whoever's talking, they would like act like it's a character model going to talk. Yeah. Like, they would like show up next to the text box. Yeah. They would just be like super still, but every now and then, like, the character would like move a little. Yeah.
Sounds.
People move when they talk, Shanae.
Yeah, like we're not.
No, it's more like a jiggle. Like a jiggle.
I mean, I put on some weight, so I kind of jiggle when I talk,
But yeah, was there any other like small topics that you had thought of?
No, I mean nothing I could think of right now, but it's always something like that. Like whenever you guys ask, every week, does anybody have any ideas for a show? I always think of something, but it's never anything that I think can fill an hour,
Yeah. That's fair enough. But yeah, we should we'll make a shared Google Doc.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's dangerous.
Sure.
It is. Is there anything else that y'all wanted to add before I start doing the closing speeches?
The closing ceremony.
Yes.
Our closing arguments.
Objection.
No, I'm good. Play Dragon's Crown. Still fun.
If you want. We're not your mom. We can't tell you what to do. But if you do want to find us on anything different than what you're listening or watching us on now, we are on most podcast apps such as Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, Spotify. We also are on the YouTubes if you want to see our beautiful faces. If you have any suggestions for like show ideas, if you want to respond to anything we've said in these, if you want to let me know about any wrong named items or modes, I'd be happy to hear it. You can tell us on at our Discord. It will be linked somewhere. And bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.